Well, if you kind of look at the presentation in its entirety, a lot of it was just focused on the power of our brand. I think we're in a moment where kind of transitioning from thinking about news brands as a commodity and now news brands as powerful consumer brands. And our point to the ad community was there's no better place than to think about a creative launchpad than a brand like the New York Times. Meredith posed the question, what are we doing showing a brand campaign at an advertising event? And the point was, again, just kind of flex the muscles of our brand, our consumer brand specifically. But then thinking about our consumer brand as a launchpad for advertisers, what are the various mediums we can use to think about launching ideas? And we presented a little bit of video, a little bit of audio, a little bit of VR, a little bit of AR towards the end. And the whole point was there are just so many different forms a New York Times program can take. In the very end, which we actually had to cut short, we started to talk about what are the partnerships that have gone down over the last year, where we're thinking about, there was maybe 3 of them last year, we want to do 10 this year. So a few of them were BMW and their partnership with The Daily. So we had that slated for 2018. We moved it up because of BMW's brief. Samsung and our work with The Daily 360, so the fact that they outfitted our entire newsroom with 360 cameras so we could shoot 1 video a day from around the world. And then looking forward in the future, we want to do about 10 of those. So that requires both kind of daringness from our partners and obviously the truth and the kind of authority that the New York Times brings.
So tell us, how you work with brands and sort of how you come up with solutions and brands come to you, and there's so many platforms now, as opposed to the old days of an insert and advertorial. Yeah. And there's so many flavors, but how do you forge those relationships and how do you see those things developing?
Well, the relationships tend to start like a creative business, more so than like an ad business. And we made that point towards the end that we've seen this trend over the last year, brands saying we want to go bigger with fewer. They want never been done before creative ideas that may take shape in a media program, but they also could take shape in producing a VR film or hosting an event. So we've staffed a 150-person creative team in 4 continents to help brands do that. We've acquired 2 agencies, and then the big shift this year was, if you look back to the last 3 new fronts, a lot of our ad work was focused on T-Brand Studio. You hear us talk a lot about T-Brand Studio. It's all kind of owned content, but it was somewhat isolated from our newsroom. And this is the first year where we've thought about how can we use our newsroom as a launchpad for these T-Brand campaigns. So we think about our work with Tiffany, some of our most ambitious video work to date. We produced a series of films around the Whitney and kind of paying an homage to the biennial. Our work with IBM, we just produced an AR app for them. But that big shift, we're doing this groundbreaking creative work, but the big shift now is thinking about the newsroom.
Wow, that's awesome. And finally, video, just generally speaking, for you guys, you've been a leader for so many years in terms of news video. Where is that going in addition to these big sponsored series in terms of news or lifestyle or other videos?
Well, you have to think about video in 3 forms. So you have video that's part of the core news report. So if there's crisis or if there's a big news event, we have to send the video team to do that, and that's increasing every day. We're also thinking about video as a complementary format. So when you see these long scrolling kind of snowfall-like features, inserting a video to give someone a more immersive experience as part of a story. And the third part is our episodics, and that's something that's pretty new. Kaylee King-Ballantyne presented on stage. It's the first time we've ever had someone in charge of series and episodics in the newsroom. And she's been thinking about building out a slate of ideas where there are some that will happen no matter what. There are a lot of them that will only happen when we have the right partners. So we presented AI as a series we're thinking about. This is a huge topic for a lot of marketers. Motherhood, another very big topic right now, as gender has become a big part of the discussion this year. Our journey to the hottest place on Earth, and that's a VR series that Kaylee presented, and our series in Antarctica, a little challenging to say, that she presented. So these are kind of examples of ideas that we'll only do if we have the right partner, and that's why we showcase them at the New Front.